What's good? It's Woog. We've got William Zepeda, 30 wins and 0 losses, taking on Giovanni Cabrera, 22 wins and 1 loss. You know, when they first made this fight, I'm thinking, okay, this is another opponent for William Zepeda to kind of make him look good. But, you know, I've been thinking about it and I'm wondering, is this matchup more interesting than it might appear on paper? Now, I know that some fight fans who are in the know that Giovanni Cabrera isn't a bad fighter, right? He started developing a reputation when he beat Gabriel Flores Jr. Now, there were 2 guys who knocked off Gabriel Flores when he was kind of a prospect on Top Rank. It was first Luis Alberto Lopez at 126, and then it was Giovanni Cabrera at 135. So that showing against Gabriel Flores pretty much gave Giovanni Cabrera the opportunity to fight Isaac Cruz. Giovanni Cabrera actually went the distance with Cruz. He didn't look terrible, and we're going to talk a little bit about that fight, but I felt like Isaac Cruz, even when he was getting on the inside, because of the height gap, it just looked like he wasn't able to bring Giovanni Cabrera down to his level to where he could go up top and hit effectively. Plus, it seemed like when he was landing effectively, Cabrera was still kind of rolling with it. So Cabrera either has a phenomenal chin or he's able to see a lot of these punches coming and kind of move with the punch where it absorbs a lot of the power that would otherwise be more damaging. I did think that Isaac Cruz was able to go to Cabrera's body pretty effectively, but you know, Cabrera was moving enough, and he wasn't moving the whole fight. Like, he would move enough to throw Cruz off and make Cruz have to follow him a little bit more, and then he would let a couple punches go. And again, he was taking Cruz's shots really well, but Cruz won that one via unanimous decision. But I felt like that fight, it diminished the idea of Isaac Cruz a little bit. Like, I think that he looked a lot more human fighting Cabrera. So that in itself makes Cabrera a little bit more of a thing, a little bit more of a boxing commodity when you're able to have an impressive showing against a fighter with a reputation like Pitbull Cruz. So fight fans are in the know a little bit about Cabrera, but when you look at the betting odds in this fight, William Zepeda is a minus 1,200. He's a 12-1 favorite. So Vegas is giving him next to no shot at winning this one. They really don't think Cabrera has a real chance here. And I think that it's because of the punching power discrepancy. Out of Giovanni Cabrera's 22 wins, and he does have 1 win since that fight with Pitbull Cruz. He beat Ricardo Quitos via decision. But out of Cabrera's 22 wins, only 7 have come via knockout. Whereas with William Zepeda, I mean, ever since he hit the scene and had his breakout performance against Hector Tanajara Jr., this was a fight where Tanajara was the golden boy prospect and William Zepeda was kind of a slight B-side. So I think that it was because William Zepeda showed out and beat Tanajara, stopped him in the 6th round. This was one of those circumstances where the promoter sees this guy have this great performance and then he's like, I might have a ringer here. So if Golden Boy was planning on having big plans for Tanajara, well, that all changed with Tanajara versus William Zepeda. And then ever since that, Zepeda's just been on a tear. And out of his 30 wins, 26 have come via knockout. If you're doing the math on this one, that's 80% knockout percentage. And Zepeda has been fighting gradually better fighters. So after that win against Tanajara, he had a couple more, you know, lesser named fighters, Moralde and Vietas. And then he had the fight that I would say out of his last several fights, this is the guy who I thought gave him the biggest challenge. Rene Alvarado, a former belt holder in the lower divisions. I believe Alvarado held a 130 title, but it was like a WBA regular belt, and then he lost that belt against Roger Gutierrez, and then he lost another fight against Gutierrez, and then he lost to Lamont Roach. So, and it's been all downhill from there for Alvarado, but he did fight super competitively with William Zepeda. Like, for the first several rounds, he gave as good as he got. So after that unanimous decision win for William Zepeda, he then beats the brakes off of Jojo Diaz. He wins a unanimous decision. Jojo did hit him a few times very cleanly and looked like he kind of rocked him a couple times in the back half of the fight. But I mean, William Zepeda is a guy who throws like 80 to 100 punches around. And if you're not able to keep up with his treadmill from hell. Those of you who watch some of my other videos, you've heard me use that phrase. It's when one fighter puts another guy on this pace that's just unsustainable and just drowns them with activity. We've seen guys like Navarrete do it. We've seen Jaime Munguia do it. David Benavidez in his own way does it. And William Zepeda in his own way does that. He just puts his opponent on an impossible pace, and you start to feel sorry for the opponent based on Zepeda's work rate. So Jojo Diaz couldn't do anything to stop from getting hit by William Zepeda, who just pours it on. And the thing is, yes, he throws a ton of punches, but I would stop just short of calling him an all-out brawler. I mean, when you watch it to the naked eye, a lot of it looks like brawling, but even when the opponent circles out, as his opponent did 2 fights later, Mercito Hesta, a good mover who outboxed Jojo Diaz. Well, when Hesta tried to move against Zepeda, the thing is, Zepeda will throw his punches, you pivot and move to try to get back to the center of the ring. Zepeda will stick that long jab out there to fill the space, to occupy you, to hit you, while he's closing distance once again to let more punches go. So it's not just in the phone booth when he's throwing punches, it's even when you try to buy yourself some breathing time. He'll take the step forward, throw the jab out, and then start putting punches behind that. I'm not kidding. This guy, if you are not equipped with the tools to handle this guy, he's an absolute nightmare. Jojo Diaz knows that. Mercito Hesta knows that. He stopped Mercito Hesta in the 6th round. And in a lot of these fights, they could have stopped it sooner. So then William Zepeda fights Maxie Hughes. And this is when Maxie Hughes was coming off of that fight against George Kambosos that I and many thought Maxie Hughes deserved to win. But Maxie Hughes, lost via decision. But Maxie Hughes is a tricky southpaw, by the way. 3 out of William Zepeda's last 4 opponents have been southpaws. Jojo Diaz, Mercito Hesta, Maxie Hughes. Well, none of that stuff that Maxie Hughes uses effectively against other guys, like he used it effectively against Kid Galahad, he used it effectively against George Kambosos. William Zepeda was having none of that. It took him about a half a round to start drowning Maxie Hughes in activity. By the 2nd or 3rd round, it was looking, they could have stopped it in the 2nd or 3rd round. This fight didn't make it past the 4th round. This was a 4th round stoppage, and it might have only been 4 rounds, but it felt like 10 to 12 rounds. Like each of these William Zepeda rounds, when they're going William Zepeda's way, the opponent looks like he's feeling like he just fought 3 rounds when it was 1 round. It's a very unusual approach that William Zepeda has. And by the way, Giovanni Cabrera is orthodox, but he does switch. He did switch a few times against Isaac Cruz. He's switched in the past. But William Zepeda is such a fun fighter to watch. And by the way, if Zepeda is able to get past Giovanni Cabrera and Shakur Stevenson is able to beat Haratunian, I know that he's got to work out his promotional future. But if Stevenson beats Haratunian and is unable to get a fight with Tank Davis or against Vasily Lomachenko, I would love for them to make Shakur Stevenson versus William Zepeda. It would just be such a proving ground. I know, Shakur Stevenson is a 3-division champion now, 126, 130, 135, but he is still on the outside looking in when it comes to fighting the fights that matter most, at least at lightweight. William Zepeda is another guy who's fighting these, kind of at the very tail end of the top 10 or maybe 10 through 20 guys. Maxie Hughes, Hesta, Jojo Diaz. William Zepeda, I'm sure, wants a big fight as well. And in the past, reportedly, Shakur Stevenson has reached out to William Zepeda and tried to get a fight made. If William Zepeda is able to show out and beat Cabrera, why not do Shakur Stevenson defending his title against William Zepeda? That would be such an important fight in the division. And then you can let Tank Davis and Vasily Lomachenko finally happen. But does Giovanni Cabrera really have a chance at beating William Zepeda? If Zepeda is still dialed in and everybody's able to make weight, comfortably and bring all of their attributes, their properties into the ring with them, I could see Cabrera giving Zepeda an interesting first 3 to 4 rounds, maybe into the 5th, maybe even into the 6th. Again, Cabrera is a pretty dang good boxer and he does have enough movement, but he's not a runner. Again, he sat in the pocket and was in front of Isaac Cruz for a lot of that fight, taking Cruz's power. But again, I think that a lot of the power from Cruz's punches were were nullified because of how Cabrera was kind of moving his upper body, rolling with the punches. And plus, Isaac Cruz was having to punch and reach so high that I think that just that punch trajectory took some of the steam off the punches. But again, that's why I said that the punches to Cabrera's body seemed more effective for Isaac Cruz. William Zepeda is not going to have that same issue with there being such a dramatic height gap. Both of these guys are 5'9", and Cabrera does have a slight reach advantage. It's 71 inches against 69 and a half reaches. So pretty close reach comparison. And again, they are the same height, at least on paper. But I really feel like once Zepeda decides not to respect Cabrera's punching power, which, you know, in some cases, somebody who's not even a serious puncher can have an effect on a much heavier puncher to the point where it starts reducing their punch output. Like when Ricardo Mayorga fought Corey Spinks. Corey Spinks beat Ricardo Mayorga. Mayorga was such a bigger puncher than Corey Spinks, but Corey Spinks was a good enough boxer to lessen a lot of the aggression from Mayorga, especially in the middle and late rounds. If Cabrera is able to box the fight of his life against Zepeda, maybe you can have a decreased punch output from Zepeda. I just think that this fight's going to hit a point where the volume and the power and the aggression will start to get to Giovanni Cabrera. Again, I don't know if it's going to be the 4th round, 5th round, but I think we're going to start seeing Cabrera impacted by punches in a way that he was not impacted against Isaac Cruz. And even if you start showing good head movement and you're a pretty good mover, again, Zepeda closes the range with his jab, gets in, and he'll also start going to the body. So your hands start coming down as the rounds go on. And Giovanni Cabrera, as it stands, likes to kind of put his hands down. He fights pretty loosely, but Gabe Flores was a 126, 130 guy, again, fighting up at 135. Isaac Cruz is a very short 135. I don't know if dropping your hands is the best thing to do against somebody who's looking to throw 80 to 100 punches around in William Zepeda. So something's got to give here. Either Giovanni Cabrera is going to box William Zepeda's ears off, or he's going to succumb to the activity. The question is, and I am taking William Zepeda to win the fight, is he going to stop Giovanni Cabrera? Again, because this isn't a 5'4"-ish Isaac Cruz we're talking about, I do think that William Zepeda is eventually gonna stop Cabrera. I don't think it's gonna be a knockout, but I think it's gonna be one of those, either a referee stoppage when the ref jumps in like he did against Mercito Hesta, or it's gonna be the guy walks back to the corner and the corner says, you know what, that's enough. And the ref, you know, comes in, checks on them, they say, no, that's enough. I think it's gonna be a stoppage like that. And that, by the way, is how Maxie Hughes got stopped against William Zepeda. So yeah, I'm taking Zepeda via late round stoppage. I'm talking maybe 9th through the 11th round, something like that. I think Giovanni Cabrera will make things look a bit interesting in the first couple of rounds. And by the way, if we get into the 5th and 6th round and it still looks like they're boxing at a simmering rate where William Zepeda is not able to throw 80 to 100 good punches and it slows down and a boxing match breaks out and we're in the 4th and 5th round, look out, because then we might be on our way to an upset. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that this is going to devolve into a William Zepeda style fight, and I think it's going to eventually be enough, or should I say too much, for Giovanni Cabrera. So yeah, I'm going 9th through 11th TKO, RTD in the corner type stoppage. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on William Zepeda versus Giovanni Cabrera. Who do you see winning and how? And if we'll assume if William Zepeda wins this one, how would you like to see the landscape at 135 play out as it pertains to William Zepeda, Shakur Stevenson, hell, Murataya, Dennis Berencik, who just beat Navarrete, you know, who has one of the belts right now? How do you want to see 135 play out? And I also do wonder how long William Zepeda is going to be able to fight at lightweight. He seems like a pretty big lightweight and he's been there for a while. He's now like 28 years old. So I think that it's only a matter of time before he goes up to 140. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on this one in the comments. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you are into the fight talk. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.